I was staring at my wife's phone, watching three dots pulse on the screen as someone typed a message. Someone who wasn't me. Someone who'd just written, "Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow." The phone had buzzed on the kitchen counter while Jessica was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally. We'd always had an open phone policy, no passwords between us. That was the agreement after 9 years of marriage, 2 kids, and a mortgage that kept us both working 60-hour weeks. The name at the top of the screen read, Pilates Rebecca. Rebecca. Jessica's instructor at that boutique studio downtown. The one she'd been going to 3 times a week for the past 4 months. The one she'd raved about constantly, saying how Rebecca really understood her body and pushed her in ways she'd never experienced. My hands went cold. The 3 dots appeared again. Last Tuesday was incredible. I keep thinking about your hands on my... I set the phone down exactly where I'd found it, screen side down. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The shower was still running upstairs. I had maybe 2 minutes before Jessica came down in her bathrobe, smelling like lavender and lies. Think, David. Think. I pulled out my own phone and opened the camera app, hands shaking. Picked up Jessica's phone again. The screen had gone dark. I tapped it, and there they were. Dozens of messages I hadn't scrolled through yet. I started screenshotting. Fast. Methodical. My photographer's training kicked in even as my world collapsed. Capture the evidence. Document everything. Missing you already. Tuesday and Thursday this week? You're spoiling me. Tell him you're doing the advanced class. He won't question it. Him. Me. I was him now. Not David. Not her husband. Just the obstacle to be managed and deceived. I heard the shower shut off. My fingers flew across the screen. Screenshot. Scroll. Screenshot. I went back weeks, my stomach churning with each new revelation. Hotel addresses. Explicit photos I couldn't bear to look at, but forced myself to save. Plans, schedules. A whole secret life mapped out in blue and gray text bubbles. David? Jessica's voice floated down from upstairs. Can you grab my phone? I think I left it in the kitchen. Yeah, got it, I called back, my voice somehow steady despite the adrenaline screaming through my veins. I took 5 more screenshots, sent them all to my email, deleted the sent messages from her phone, and cleared my email notification. The whole operation took maybe 90 seconds. Then I wiped my prints off the screen with my shirt. Ridiculous, paranoid. But my brain was in survival mode now. Footsteps on the stairs. I set the phone back on the counter and turned to the coffee maker, pouring myself a cup I didn't want with hands that had stopped shaking through sheer force of will. Jessica appeared in the doorway, wrapped in the blue robe I'd bought her last Christmas. Her dark hair was wet, cascading over her shoulders. She looked beautiful. She looked like a stranger. Thanks, babe. She kissed my cheek as she passed, grabbing her phone without breaking stride. The casual intimacy of it made me want to vomit. You sleep okay? Like a rock, I lied. I'd actually been up since 5, working on prints for the gallery showing next month. Back when my biggest worry was whether my landscape photography would sell. She scrolled through her phone, and I watched her face carefully over the rim of my coffee mug. Nothing. No panic. No realization that someone had been reading her messages. She was good at this. How long had she been this good at lying? I've got Pilates at 10, she said, pouring herself coffee. Then I'm meeting Amy for lunch. I should be home by 3 before the kids get back from school. Amy. Was that even real? Or was Amy another code word like advanced class and Rebecca? Sounds good. I took another sip of coffee that tasted like ash. I've got the studio until 2. Then I'll grab Ethan and Lily from school. Our 8-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter, who had no idea their mother was burning down their family from the inside out. Jessica smiled at me. That same warm, genuine smile that had made me fall in love with her at a college party 11 years ago. "You're the best? I don't know what I'd do without you." The audacity of it was breathtaking. "Same here," I said, and meant it in a way she couldn't possibly understand. Because I genuinely didn't know what I was going to do. The evidence was sitting in my email now, waiting. Proof of infidelity. Grounds for divorce in our state. Ammunition for custody battles and asset division. But standing there in our kitchen, watching my wife of 9 years sip her coffee and check her messages from her lover, I realized I didn't just need evidence. I needed a plan. Jessica grabbed her gym bag from the hall closet, the expensive one she'd bought last month, saying she deserved to invest in her wellness journey. I wondered now if Rebecca had picked it out. If they'd laughed together about how clueless I was. "Love you," she said, heading for the garage door. "Love you too," I replied automatically, and watched her leave. The garage door rumbled shut. Her car started. Pulled away. I stood alone in the kitchen of the 4-bedroom colonial we'd bought 3 years ago, in the good school district, with the big backyard for the kids. I'd photographed every inch of this house when we'd first moved in, documenting our happiness for posterity. Now I pulled out my phone and started documenting something else entirely. The gallery showing was in 6 days. I sat at my desk in the converted spare bedroom that served as my home office, staring at the screen where I'd organized the screenshots into folders, chronological, by location, by explicit content level. Like cataloging prints for an exhibition, except these images would destroy my family instead of launching my career. My phone buzzed. Text from my agent, Philip. "Need final selections by tomorrow. Gallery wants to start printing. You good?" I looked at the landscape photographs spread across my secondary monitor. Mountains at dawn. Coastal fog. Desert highways stretching toward vanishing points. I'd spent 18 months on this series, driven thousands of miles, slept in my car to catch perfect light. It all felt like someone else's life now. "Yeah, sending tonight," I typed back. But first, I had work to do. I opened a new document and started writing everything I knew. Times, dates, every Pilates class I could remember from the past 4 months. Jessica kept a shared calendar for family stuff, doctor appointments, school events, her work meetings. I pulled it up on my laptop. There. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. Pilates blocked out in purple. Sometimes Saturdays at 10 a.m. I cross-referenced with the text messages. The timestamps matched perfectly. Every class night, messages with Rebecca spiked before and after. The Saturday morning sessions were worse. Those were when they got hotel rooms. 4 months. Minimum twice a week. That was at least 30 times. 30 times she'd kissed our kids goodbye and driven across town to sleep with someone else. My hands were shaking again. I forced them flat against the desk, focused on my breathing. In through nose, out through mouth. The technique I used when waiting for perfect light, when patience meant everything. I needed to think like a photographer, document the truth, let the evidence tell the story. Jessica's gym bag was in the hall closet where she always left it. I'd walked past it 1,000 times without a second thought. Now I pulled it down, unzipped it carefully. Yoga mat, water bottle, the usual. Then, in the inside pocket, a hotel keycard. The Riverside Inn, room number written in Sharpie on the white sleeve. Last Saturday's date. I photographed it with my phone. Put it back exactly as I'd found it. Her car was in the garage. I'd never searched it before, never had a reason to. The thought made me feel sick and invasive, but I pushed the feeling down. She'd been lying to my face for months. I was just finding the truth. The sedan was immaculate as always. Jessica hated clutter. But the glove box held insurance papers, registration, and underneath, a receipt from the Riverside Inn. 2 nights ago. Room service for two. Champagne and strawberries. I photographed that too. In the center console, a bracelet I'd never seen before. Silver, delicate, engraved on the inside, R and J. Not D and J. Not our initials, Rebecca and Jessica. I held it up to the light filtering through the garage window, this tiny circle of silver that represented everything I hadn't known about my wife. She'd been building a whole separate life, one with its own tokens and symbols and inside jokes. The bracelet went back in the console, evidence documented, seen undisturbed. Back in my office, I added everything to my notes. The document was growing. 3 pages now. 4. A complete timeline of deception. My phone buzzed again. Jessica this time. Running late, might grab dinner out. Don't wait up, love you. The casualness of it, the ease of the lie. She'd probably sent similar texts dozens of times, and I'd never questioned any of them. No problem, I sent back. Love you too. The words tasted like poison, but I typed them anyway. I pulled up the Riverside Inn website, checked their rates. $240 a night for a standard room. The receipt showed they'd been there at least 3 times in the past month alone. That was $700 minimum. Where was that money coming from? Our finances were joint. I checked our bank account. Nothing unusual. Her credit card statement, though. There. Riverside Inn charges going back 8 weeks, always on class nights. She'd been paying with her personal card, the one we kept for individual purchases. $1,200 in hotel charges alone. Plus restaurants. Plus the boutique Pilates studio membership at $90 a month. We'd had an argument 2 months ago about money, about saving for Lily's orthodontist appointments. Jessica had suggested I cut back on photography equipment purchases, invest less in the gallery showing. Meanwhile, she was spending over $1,000 a month on an affair. The anger was building again, hot and sharp behind my ribs. I stood up, paced the small office. Looked out the window at our backyard, where Ethan's soccer goal sat in the grass, where we'd hosted birthday parties and barbecues and built what I thought was a good life. Think, David. Think. Confronting her now would be stupid, emotional. I'd lose the advantage. She'd cry, apologize, promise to end it. We'd do counseling. She'd be more careful about hiding things. And I'd never really know if it was over or just better concealed. No. I needed more than evidence of the affair. I needed to understand the full scope. Who knew about it? How deep did this go? Was Rebecca the first, or had there been others? I opened my laptop and searched Rebecca's name plus the Pilates studio. Found her on the staff page. Mid-30s, athletic build, dark hair like Jessica's. Her bio mentioned she'd been teaching for 6 years, specialized in private sessions. Private sessions. Her social media was public. I scrolled through Instagram posts of workout routines, motivational quotes, photos with clients. There, 3 weeks ago, a group shot at some Pilates event. Jessica was in it, standing close to Rebecca. Too close. Rebecca's hand on Jessica's shoulder. The comments were full of heart emojis and praise. One stood out, cutest couple at the studio, with a winky face. I screenshot it, added it to my collection. Someone knew, multiple someones probably. This wasn't just a secret affair. They were public enough that studio regulars noticed. How many people had seen my wife with another woman and said nothing to me? My phone rang. Philip again. I almost didn't answer, but the gallery showing was still happening. Life was still happening, even as my marriage imploded in slow motion. Hey, I said, keeping my voice level. Just checking in, man. You sound stressed. Everything okay? Fine, just busy. The photographs are incredible, David. This showing is going to change everything for you. I can feel it. Change everything. Yeah, that was happening whether the gallery succeeded or not. Thanks, Philip. I'll have the final selections to you by tonight. That's what I like to hear. And hey, bring Jessica to the opening, yeah? She's your biggest supporter. Should be there for the big moment. My biggest supporter. Absolutely, I said. Wouldn't miss it. We hung up. I stared at my landscape photographs again. All that time on the road. All those hours away from home chasing perfect light while Jessica was home with the kids. Or was she? I pulled up the shared calendar again, went back 6 months. Cross-referenced with my travel schedule for the photography project. There was overlap. Times when I was out of town and Jessica had evening appointments blocked out. No details, just purple blocks of time. Before the Pilates membership started. My stomach dropped. 4 months was just when it became regular, when she'd found a convenient excuse. But the affair might have started earlier. Might have been going on for half a year. Longer. How long had I been the fool? I opened a new browser tab and searched for divorce attorneys in our area. Read reviews. Checked credentials. Made a list of 3 to call tomorrow. Then I went back to my photographs and started making selections for the gallery. Mountains at dawn, coastal fog, desert highways, evidence of the life I'd been living while my wife built another one entirely. By the time Jessica came home at 9:30, flushed and smiling and smelling like unfamiliar perfume, I had everything organized. The photographs for Philip, the documentation of her affair, the list of attorneys. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing my cheek. "How was your day?" "Productive," I said. "Got a lot done." She smiled, grabbed a water bottle from the fridge. "That's great. I'm exhausted. Gonna shower and crash." "How was dinner?" "Oh, just grabbed something quick. Nothing special." Another lie, smooth as glass. "Sleep well," I told her. And I meant it. Let her sleep. Let her think everything was normal. I had work to do. The park was 2 blocks from our house. I jogged past it 1,000 times, photographed the old oak trees in autumn light, brought the kids to the playground every weekend. Now I was hiding behind one of those oaks like some noir detective, watching my wife meet another woman. Not Rebecca. Someone else entirely. The jogger had blonde hair pulled back in a high ponytail, athletic build, maybe 35. She stretched against a bench near the pond, checking her watch. Waiting. Jessica appeared from the north entrance at exactly 7:15. She'd left the house 20 minutes earlier, claiming she needed to clear her head after a long day. I'd watched her walk out in yoga pants and a zip-up jacket, watched her check her reflection in the hallway mirror, watched her smile to herself. Now I watched her walk straight to the blonde woman and kiss her. Not a friendly peck, a kiss that made my stomach turn. They walked together down the paved path that circled the pond, hands brushing, heads close, talking and laughing like old friends, like lovers. I followed at a distance, staying in the tree line. The photographer in me noted the fading light, the way their silhouettes merged and separated against the water. The husband in me wanted to vomit. They stopped at a bench on the far side of the pond. More kissing. The blonde's hand on Jessica's face. Jessica's fingers twisted in blonde hair. I took photos. My hands were steady. Years of holding cameras in difficult conditions. That muscle memory didn't fail me even when everything else was falling apart. When they finally separated, Jessica checked her phone. Probably making sure she had time before she needed to be home. Before she needed to come back and lie to me about where she'd been. The blonde jogged off toward the east exit. Jessica waited a few minutes, then headed back the way she'd come. I stayed behind my oak tree until she was gone. Then I sat down on the damp ground and tried to breathe. The next evening I went to the park earlier, found a spot with good sightlines to the bench where they'd met. Brought my long lens and a thermos of coffee. Jessica left the house at 7 again. "Just need some air," she said, kissing my cheek. "Be back in an hour." She met the blonde at 7:15. Same spot, same routine. This time they sat on the bench for 40 minutes, wrapped around each other like teenagers. An older man walked past with a golden retriever. He glanced at them, looked away quickly. I waited until Jessica left, then approached him on his second loop around the pond. "Evening," I said. "Beautiful night." "Sure is." He smiled, friendly. The dog sniffed my shoes. "I've been thinking about adopting a dog," I lied. "Do you come here often? Is it usually this quiet?" "Most evenings, yeah. Good place to walk. Safe." He paused. "Well, mostly quiet. Some folks use it for other purposes, if you know what I mean." I smiled like I didn't. "Oh?" "Just, you know." He gestured vaguely toward the bench where Jessica had been sitting. "Young people these days. No discretion. I've seen those two here 3-4 times this week alone, making out like they're in a movie." "The two women?" I kept my voice casual. "Yeah. Blonde and brunette. Pretty girls, but come on. There's a time and place." He shook his head. "Anyway, good luck with the dog search. Goldens are great family pets." I thanked him and walked away before he could see my face. I came back the next night. And the next. Building a pattern, documenting everything. Jessica never varied her routine. 7 p.m. departure, 7:15 rendezvous, back home by 8:30. She'd return flushed and happy, smelling like someone else's perfume, and tell me about her walk, while I nodded and asked if she'd seen anything interesting. "Just the usual," she'd say. "Ducks on the pond, some joggers. It's peaceful." On the fourth night, I talked to a woman who was doing Tai Chi near the pond. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm actually a photographer working on a project about the park. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" She was happy to talk. Told me she came every evening at sunset, had been doing her practice here for 2 years. "Have you noticed any regular visitors?" I asked. "I'm trying to capture the community aspect." "Oh, sure. There's the man with the golden retriever. He's here every night. The teenagers who skateboard by the pavilion. And there's a couple, well, 2 women, who meet here pretty regularly. Sweet to see people making time for each other in this busy world." 2 women? Blonde and brunette. I've seen them maybe a dozen times over the past few months. They seem very much in love. She smiled. "It's nice. The world needs more love." I thanked her and left. A dozen times. Over the past few months. Not Rebecca. Someone else. Someone new, or maybe someone old. Maybe this was happening before Rebecca, or alongside Rebecca, or after Rebecca. I didn't know anymore. On the 5th night, I didn't hide. I waited until they were on their bench, wrapped up in each other, and I walked straight toward them across the grass. Jessica saw me first. Her face went white. "David, don't." I held up my phone. "I have photos from the last 4 nights. I have witness statements from park regulars who've seen you here dozens of times. I have everything." The blonde woman stood up, backing away. "I didn't," she said. "She's married," I said. 9 years, 2 kids. "Did she mention that?" The woman looked at Jessica, betrayal and confusion warring on her face. "You said you were separated." "We're not." I turned to Jessica. "Tell her." Jessica's mouth opened. Closed. No words came out. "We live together," I continued, my voice carrying across the quiet park. An elderly couple on the path had stopped walking, watching us. "We sleep in the same bed. She kissed me goodbye before she came here tonight. She's wearing the anniversary necklace I gave her last month." Jessica's hand went to her throat, touching the silver chain. You're insane, she whispered. You're making a scene. Yeah, I am. I looked at the blonde woman. What's your name? Melissa. She looked shell-shocked. Melissa, I'm sorry you got caught up in this. My wife is apparently very good at lying. I turned back to Jessica. Get up. We're going home. David, please, can we just… Now. The elderly couple was still watching. Two joggers had slowed down, pretending not to stare. I didn't care. Jessica stood up slowly. Melissa stepped back, shaking her head. I can't believe… Melissa started. Neither can I said. But here we are. I walked toward the north exit. After a moment, I heard Jessica following. We didn't speak on the walk home. I unlocked the front door, held it open. Jessica walked past me, head down. Inside, I went straight to our bedroom, started pulling her clothes from the closet. What are you doing? Her voice was small, scared. Packing. I grabbed a suitcase from the top shelf, started throwing things in, shirts, pants, shoes. I wasn't being careful about it. David, stop. We need to talk about this. No, we don't. I moved to her dresser. You can stay at a hotel, or with Rebecca, or with Melissa. I don't care, but you're not staying here. You can't just kick me out. This is my house, too. Watch me. I zipped the suitcase, grabbed another one. I've already talked to a lawyer, filed for divorce this afternoon. You'll be served next week. Her face crumpled. The kids are at my mother's for the weekend, remember? You'll see them when the custody arrangement is finalized, not before. This is insane. You're being insane. I stopped packing. Looked at her directly for the first time since we'd left the park. I found the messages from Rebecca 3 weeks ago, I said quietly. I've been documenting everything. The hotel receipts, the credit card charges, the bracelet with her initials. Then I started following you and found Melissa. How many others, Jessica? How many people have you been sleeping with while I thought we were building a life together? She didn't answer. That's what I thought. I went back to packing. You have 30 minutes. Take what you can carry. I'll ship the rest wherever you end up. David, please. 29 minutes. She stood there for a long moment. Then she started grabbing things, shoving them into the suitcases with shaking hands. I watched from the doorway. Made sure she didn't take anything that wasn't hers. Made sure she left her keys on the kitchen counter. When she was done, she stood by the door with 2 suitcases and a duffel bag, mascara running down her face. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. But you did it anyway. I opened the door. Goodbye, Jessica. She left. I locked the door behind her, turned off the porch light, and stood in the sudden darkness of my house. The house felt enormous and empty when I got back. I dropped the kids at my mother's 2 days ago, and the silence pressed against my eardrums like water pressure. Every room echoed. The coffee maker sounded like a jet engine. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, the divorce papers I'd filed spread out beside me. My attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Vance, who came recommended by 3 different photographers who'd been through this, had moved faster than I'd thought possible. Jessica would be served tomorrow. I'd beaten her to every punch. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Melissa. We need to talk. I stared at it for 30 seconds, deleted it, blocked the number. 5 minutes later, another buzz. Different unknown number. Please. I didn't know she was still married. I'm not the enemy here. I typed back. You're not my problem either. But I didn't block this one. Something stopped me. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Rebecca contacted me, the Pilates instructor. She didn't know about me. I didn't know about her. There might be others. My stomach dropped. I'd suspected it, but seeing it confirmed in text made it real in a different way. How many others? I typed. I don't know. But Rebecca mentioned someone named Ashley, and Jessica told me about work trips that now sound suspicious. I pulled up our credit card statements again, the ones I'd already combed through. Started looking for patterns I'd missed. Hotel charges in cities where Jessica had claimed conferences. Restaurants for two. A charge at a jewelry store in Boston I'd assumed was for a client gift. My phone rang. The same unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Don't hang up. Melissa's voice was tight, controlled. I know you don't owe me anything, but I got played too. And I think we both deserve to know the full scope. Why do you care? I kept my voice flat. Because I'm sitting here feeling like an idiot, and I don't like feeling like an idiot. She paused. And because I saw your face at the park. You looked like I felt. Like the ground disappeared. I didn't say anything. Rebecca and I compared notes, she continued. Your wife told me she was separated, getting divorced, that you were controlling, and she'd finally found the courage to leave. She told Rebecca she was in an open marriage, that you had your own thing going. She's been running completely different stories. How long? The question came out rougher than I intended. For me? 5 months. Rebecca says 4 months, but she found an old text that suggests maybe longer. She thinks Jessica deleted their early messages. Melissa's voice hardened. She's good at this. Really good. I thought about Jessica's face that morning, casual and bright as she lied about Pilates. The ease of it. How many times had she done this? How many conversations had we had where every word from her mouth was calculated fiction? There's more, Melissa said. I did some digging. Social media, mutual friends. There's a woman named Kimberly who commented on one of Jessica's posts from 8 months ago. Miss our coffee dates? With a heart emoji, I messaged her. And? She stopped responding when I mentioned I was dating Jessica, just went silent. Melissa exhaled. I think there's a trail here. I think this has been going on a lot longer than any of us knew. I pulled up Jessica's Instagram on my laptop, scrolled back 8 months. Found the post, Jessica at some art gallery opening, glass of wine in hand, caption about supporting local artists. And there in the comments, miss our coffee dates, Kimberly Watson. Jessica had replied with a winky face. I'm looking at it now, I said. Rebecca's meeting me tomorrow. We're going to map out everything we know. Times, places, lies she told each of us. Build a timeline. Melissa's voice shifted, became almost businesslike. You should join us. Why would I do that? Because knowledge is power. Because your divorce attorney might want to know the full extent of her deception. Because... She stopped. Because I saw those kids in her phone background. And if she's this good at lying to the adults in her life, what else is she lying about? That hit harder than I expected. I thought about Ethan and Lily at my mother's, asking when Mommy was coming to get them. My mother's tight-lipped silence, the way she'd hugged me before I left. Where and when? I asked. The coffee shop Melissa chose was 20 minutes away, in a neighborhood where Jessica and I never went. Smart. I got there first, ordered black coffee I didn't drink, and sat in the back corner where I could see the door. Melissa arrived exactly on time. She looked different than she had at the park. Put together, professional. Navy blazer, minimal makeup. She spotted me and walked over with the kind of confident stride that suggested she'd prepared for this meeting like a presentation. David. She sat down across from me. Thanks for coming. You made a compelling case. Rebecca showed up 10 minutes later. Younger than I'd expected, maybe 28, with the kind of lean muscle that came from teaching Pilates 6 hours a day. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around the coffee shop like Jessica might materialize from behind the pastry case. This is surreal, she said, sliding into the booth beside Melissa. "I've never done anything like this before." "None of us have," Melissa said. She pulled out a laptop. "Okay, I made a spreadsheet." Of course she did. I almost smiled. She turned the screen so we could all see it. Columns for dates, locations, what Jessica told each of us, credit card charges I'd shared via encrypted email. It was thorough, almost obsessive. "I'm a data analyst," Melissa said, catching my expression. "This is how I process." We spent the next hour filling in gaps. Rebecca remembered Jessica mentioning a work conference in Chicago that coincided with a weekend Melissa thought Jessica was visiting her sick mother. I found the hotel charge. Neither story was true. The hotel was a boutique place in the city's nightlife district, nowhere near any conference center or hospital. "She told me she had to go to her daughter's school play that weekend," Rebecca said quietly. "Said she felt guilty for missing so much because of work." "Lily's play was 3 weeks earlier," I said. "I have the program saved." Rebecca's face went pale. Jesus. The pattern emerged like a photograph in developing fluid. Jessica had been juggling at least 4 relationships, possibly more, for at least 8 months, maybe longer. She'd created elaborate backstories for each of us, tailored to what we'd believe. She'd used her real life as set dressing, sprinkling in true details to make the lies more convincing. "The bracelet," I said suddenly. "R&J, I thought it was Rebecca and Jessica." "She told me it stood for Renaissance and Joy," Rebecca said. "Some meaningful phrase from a retreat she went on." Melissa shook her head. "She told me the J was for her grandmother, Joan. Said the R was for remember." "It could be anyone," I said. "Another person entirely." We sat with that for a moment. "Kimberly never responded to my follow-up messages," Melissa said, "but I found her on LinkedIn. She works in pharmaceutical sales, travels constantly." I thought about the Boston jewelry charge. "I'm going to take a guess that she's been to Boston recently," Melissa typed. Pulled up Kimberly's Instagram, a photo from 6 weeks ago. Boston Harbor sunset. "Love this city." "There it is," Rebecca whispered. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia, my attorney. "Jessica's been served. She's calling me repeatedly, not answering. Proceed as planned." I showed them the message. "How does it feel?" Melissa asked. "Like I'm watching it happen to someone else," I said. Which was true. I felt disconnected from my body, from the whole situation, like I was documenting someone else's life through a camera lens. "She's going to spiral," Rebecca said, "when she realizes we all know, that we're comparing notes." "Good," Melissa said flatly. "Let her spiral." My phone buzzed again. This time, Jessica. "We need to talk. This is insane. You can't just take the kids and file for divorce without even discussing it." I showed them. "The audacity," Melissa said. "She's actually trying to make you the bad guy." Another text. "I know you're upset, but this is extreme. Can we please talk like adults?" Then, "David, please, think about the kids." "She's panicking," Rebecca observed. "Look at the timestamps, 30 seconds apart." My phone started ringing. Jessica's name lit up the screen. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. "Don't answer," Melissa said. "Let her sit with it." But I was already standing, phone in hand, walking toward the coffee shop's back exit. I answered as I pushed through the door into the alley. "What?" "David, thank God. Listen to me." "No, you listen." My voice came out colder than I'd ever heard it. "I know about Rebecca. I know about Melissa. I know about Kimberly. I know about all of it." Silence. "I have documentation going back 8 months. I have witnesses. I have credit card statements and hotel receipts and text messages." I was pacing now, my free hand clenched into a fist. "You don't get to call me and pretend this is a misunderstanding." "David." Her voice cracked. Please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I filed for divorce. You'll have the papers. My attorney will be in touch about custody arrangements. You can't take my children, our children, and I'm not taking them. I'm protecting them. I stopped pacing. From you. I hung up, blocked her number, walked back inside where Melissa and Rebecca were watching me with identical expressions of grim satisfaction. Feel better? Melissa asked. Not even a little, I said. But that was a lie. Some small, dark part of me felt exactly like I'd wanted to feel since I'd first seen those messages on her phone. In control. The call came from a number I didn't recognize at 11:47 p.m. I stared at my phone screen, watching it vibrate against the kitchen counter. Jessica had been blocked for 3 days now. Her parents had tried calling twice. I'd let those go to voicemail. But this number was local, unfamiliar. I answered on the fourth ring. David? A woman's voice, hesitant. This is... God, I don't even know how to start this. My name is Vanessa Porter. I'm calling about Jessica. I set down the beer I'd been nursing. How did you get my number? From Rebecca. She said you might want to know. A pause. I think I'm another one. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly. I'd been cataloging Jessica's affairs like evidence at a crime scene. Rebecca, Melissa, Ashley, Kimberly. Each name another layer of betrayal. But hearing it from a stranger's mouth, that clinical phrase, another one, made my stomach turn. How long? I asked. 6 weeks, maybe 7. Vanessa's voice cracked. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She said she was separated, going through a divorce. Said her ex was controlling, that she'd finally gotten free. I believed her. Of course she did. Jessica had always been good at storytelling. I'd fallen for them myself for 9 years. She's not separated, I said flatly. She's served with papers now, but 3 days ago we were still married. Technically still are. Rebecca told me. A shaky breath. She also told me there might be others, that you were trying to figure out how many. I pulled up the Notes app on my phone. The list had grown. Rebecca, Pilates instructor, 4+ months. Melissa, park jogger, 3+ months. Ashley, unknown, mentioned in texts. Kimberly Watson, unknown, suspicious calls. Vanessa Porter, coffee shop, 6 to 7 weeks. 5 confirmed. Maybe more lurking in deleted messages and burner emails I hadn't found yet. Did she give you anything? I asked. Gifts? Jewelry? A necklace. Vanessa's voice went quiet. Silver chain with a small V pendant. She said she had it custom made. I thought of the bracelet I'd found in Jessica's gym bag. R&J. The matching earrings Melissa had mentioned during our park bench conversation. Jessica had been buying jewelry for her affairs like some kind of twisted collector. I'm documenting everything, I told Vanessa. For the divorce. If you're willing, I need you to write down dates, places you met, anything she told you about her life. My attorney says the more evidence of the pattern, the better. I'll do it. She sounded steadier now. I needed you to know I didn't know about you. About your kids. She showed me pictures of herself at what she called her new apartment. I looked it up on Google Maps after Rebecca called. It's your house, isn't it? 4-bedroom colonial, big backyard. Yeah, that's our house. Jesus, a bitter laugh. She took me there once, said her roommate was out of town. We had wine on your back deck. My hand tightened around the phone. Jessica had brought one of them to our home, where Ethan and Lily played, where I'd grilled burgers last summer while she smiled and poured lemonade like everything was normal. When? My voice came out harder than I intended. 2 weeks ago, Thursday night. She said her roommate traveled for work. I'd been at a client meeting in Boston. Overnight trip, rare for me. I'd texted Jessica good night around 11, Told her I loved her. She'd sent back a heart emoji. She'd sent it while Vanessa was probably still in our house. I'm sorry, Vanessa said quietly. I know that doesn't help, but I am. It's not your fault. The words tasted mechanical. I'd said them to Rebecca, to Melissa. Would probably say them to however many others crawled out of the wreckage. She lied to all of us. After Vanessa hung up with promises to email her statement, I sat in the dark kitchen and pulled up my conversation with attorney Blake Thornton. He'd told me to document everything, keep emotions out of it, build the case methodically. I'd been doing that. Screenshots, receipts, witness statements. But 5 affairs. 5 separate relationships Jessica had been maintaining while coming home to kiss our kids goodnight. My phone buzzed. Email from Rebecca, sent to me, Melissa, and now Vanessa. Subject line: We need to compare notes. I opened it. David's attorney says the more we can establish the timeline, the better his case. I've been going through my messages with Jessica. She told me she was staying late at work on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Melissa, didn't you say you met her Tuesday and Thursday nights at the park? Melissa's reply came fast. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 months. 7 p.m. Rebecca again. She was with me Mondays and Wednesdays. 6 p.m. advanced Pilates sessions that didn't exist. I thought about Jessica's calendar, the color-coded schedule she kept on the fridge, showing her 60-hour work weeks and the kids' activities. Monday through Thursday, she'd written late meetings in her careful handwriting. No meetings, just a rotation of affairs. Vanessa's email appeared. Friday afternoons. She said she had a standing therapy appointment. We'd meet at the coffee shop at 2, then go to her apartment. I started typing. Weekends she was home. Family time. She never missed Ethan's soccer games or Lily's dance recitals. The responses came in quick succession. Rebecca: Compartmentalization, classic pattern. Melissa: She kept us all in separate boxes. Vanessa: Did any of you ever feel like something was off? Like she was performing? I stared at that question. Had I noticed? The late-night showers, the new lingerie, the way she'd started going to bed after me instead of before. I'd noticed. I'd just chosen to believe her explanations because the alternative was unthinkable. She was always performing, I typed back. I just didn't realize I was part of the audience. My phone rang again. Blake Thornton, calling at midnight. David, I just got an interesting email from Jessica's attorney. His voice was crisp, alert despite the hour. They want to negotiate. Negotiate what? Custody arrangement. Asset division. They're proposing a 60-40 split in her favor, citing your work travel and her role as primary caregiver. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Primary caregiver? She was barely home 4 nights a week. That's what I told them. I also mentioned we have 5 witnesses prepared to testify about her extramarital activities and pattern of deception. They got very quiet. What do they want? To settle fast and quiet, keep it out of court. They're worried about what a judge might say when they see the scope of the affairs. Blake paused. They're offering you primary custody in the house if you agree not to pursue alimony or publicly disclose the details. I thought about Ethan asking where Mommy was, Lily crying at bedtime. They didn't understand why Jessica had moved out so suddenly, why she was only seeing them for supervised visits at her parents' house. I want full custody, I said. Supervised visitation until she completes therapy, and she pays child support. That's aggressive. She brought one of them into our home, Blake, while our kids were asleep upstairs. Silence on the line. Then, I'll draft the counteroffer. But David, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. It was already ugly. I was just finally seeing it clearly. After Blake hung up, I walked upstairs and checked on Ethan and Lily. Both asleep, tangled in blankets decorated with dinosaurs and unicorns. Innocent. Unaware their mother had been living a double life. No, a sextuple life, while tucking them in at night. My phone buzzed with another email, this one from an address I didn't recognize. Throwaway Jess2024@gmail.com. The subject line, please read this. I almost deleted it. Almost. But something made me open it. David, I know you hate me. I know you've blocked my number and I don't blame you, but I need you to understand that I never meant for any of this to happen. I was lost. I was drowning in our life and I didn't know how to tell you. The affairs were wrong. I know that now. But they made me feel alive again. They made me feel like myself instead of just a wife and mother. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to let me see my children without supervision. They need their mother. Please. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Blake with a single line. Add this to the evidence file. She wanted to be seen as herself instead of a wife and mother. She'd gotten her wish. Now she was neither. The phone buzzed against the coffee shop table. I glanced down, Melissa's name on the screen. David, I know this is awkward, but I need to tell you something. Her voice sounded strained. Jessica showed up at my apartment last night. I straightened in my chair. Rebecca looked up from her latte, eyebrows raised. What happened? She was crying, begging me to talk to you, to tell you she made a mistake. Melissa paused. She said she'd do anything to fix this, that she loved you and the kids more than anything. The laugh that escaped me was harsh. Did she mention the other 3 women? I told her I knew. About Vanessa, about Rebecca. She tried to deny it at first, then just broke down. David, I've never seen someone fall apart like that. Good. The word came out flat. There's more. Melissa's voice dropped. She told me she's pregnant. The coffee shop tilted. Rebecca's hand shot across the table, gripping my wrist. What? I managed. She claims it's yours. From about 2 months ago, she said. Before everything. Before she started with me. I did the math. 2 months. We'd still been having sex occasionally back then. Perfunctory, scheduled around work and kids and exhaustion. The kind of intimacy that felt more like maintenance than connection. She could be lying, Rebecca said quietly. She'd been listening, close enough to hear Melissa's voice through the phone. She showed me a pregnancy test. 3 of them, actually. Melissa sighed. Look, I'm not defending what she did, but I thought you should know before you hear it from her attorney. After I hung up, Rebecca and I sat in silence. The coffee shop buzzed around us, students typing on laptops, mothers with strollers, the hiss of the espresso machine. Normal life, continuing while mine detonated again. Could she fake those tests? Rebecca asked. Probably. I rubbed my eyes. But why? My attorney's already got her dead to rights. Custody's practically decided. Sympathy play. Make you look like the monster who abandoned his pregnant wife. My phone buzzed again. Blake Thornton, my attorney. Need to meet. Jessica's team just filed motion for emergency custody hearing, claiming you're unstable and children are at risk. I showed Rebecca the message. She went pale. That's insane. You've been nothing but careful with those kids. Doesn't matter, it's strategy. I was already typing back to Blake. She's trying to flip the narrative, make herself the victim. The meeting with Blake was scheduled for 2 hours later. I drove home first, needing to see Ethan and Lily before whatever came next. My mother had brought them back from her place that morning, and they were in the backyard when I pulled up. Ethan pushing Lily on the tire swing, both of them laughing. The sound nearly broke me. Daddy! Lily jumped off mid-swing, stumbling toward me. I caught her, lifted her up. Hey, Ladybug, having fun? Grandma made pancakes with chocolate chips. She was breathless with excitement. "Where's Mommy?" The question I'd been dreading. Ethan had stopped pushing the swing, watching me with eyes too old for 8. She's staying somewhere else for a little while." "Because you had a fight?" Lily's small hand touched my cheek. "You should say sorry. That's what you tell us to do." "It's more complicated than that, sweetie." Ethan walked over slowly. "Is Mommy coming back?" I knelt down, eye level with both of them. "I don't know yet, but no matter what happens, you know Daddy loves you, right? Both of you, more than anything in the world." Lily nodded solemnly. Ethan's jaw tightened. He knew something was wrong, something bigger than a simple argument. But he didn't push. My mother appeared on the back porch, phone in hand. Her expression told me everything. "Jessica's here," she said quietly. "At the front door." I stood. "Take the kids inside, upstairs." "David." "Please, Mom." She gathered them quickly, Lily protesting as they disappeared into the house. I walked around to the front, pulse hammering. Jessica stood on the porch. She looked terrible. Eyes swollen, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in 3 days ago when I'd kicked her out. Her hand rested on her stomach. "We need to talk," she said. "Through our attorneys." "That's what you wanted, right? Emergency custody hearing?" "That wasn't my idea. My lawyer said—" "I don't care what your lawyer said." I kept my voice level, aware of my mother and kids inside. "You don't get to show up here and play the victim." "I'm pregnant, David," her voice cracked. "With your baby." "Allegedly." "It's yours, I can prove it. Paternity test, whatever you want." She stepped closer. "Please, can we just talk? 5 minutes?" "You had 9 years to talk. You chose to spend that time with Rebecca, and Melissa, and Vanessa, and whoever else you haven't told me about yet." "I made mistakes." "Mistakes?" The word came out sharp. "You brought one of them into our house, into our bed, while our kids slept upstairs." She flinched. I know what I did. I'm not trying to excuse it." "Then what are you trying to do? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like manipulation. The pregnancy, the emergency custody motion, showing up here when you know the kids are home." "I'm trying to save our family." Her voice rose, desperate. "I'm trying to fix what I broke." "You can't fix this, Jessica. You didn't break a vase. You burned down everything we built. So that's it? 9 years, 2 kids, and you're just done?" I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I'd married, who'd laughed at my terrible jokes and held my hand during Ethan's birth and danced with me in the kitchen when the kids were asleep. She was still in there somewhere, beneath the lies and betrayal. But I couldn't reach her anymore. Didn't want to. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm done." She started crying then, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. Part of me wanted to comfort her, muscle memory from 9 years of being her person. But I stayed still. "The baby," she gasped out. "What about the baby?" "If it's mine, we'll figure out custody arrangements, through our attorneys." "David, please. You need to leave now, before I call the police for trespassing." She stared at me, mascara running down her cheeks, looking for something in my face. Forgiveness, maybe, or at least hesitation. She didn't find it. "I love you," she whispered. "You should have thought about that before you slept with half the neighborhood." I turned and walked back into the house, closing the door behind me. Locked it. Through the window, I watched her stand there for another minute before finally walking to her car. My mother was in the kitchen, Ethan and Lily hovering near her legs. "Is Mommy okay?" Lily asked. "She will be." The lie tasted familiar. She just needs some time. Blake called while I was making the kids' lunch. Grilled cheese, Lily's favorite. "Jessica's attorney just withdrew the emergency custody motion," he said. No explanation. She was just here, at the house. Did you talk to her? Briefly. She claims she's pregnant. Says it's mine. Blake was quiet for a moment. That changes things, if true. I know. We'll need paternity testing, and if the child is yours, we'll need to adjust the custody arrangement to account for an infant. What does that mean for Ethan and Lily? Depends on a lot of factors. But David, if she's pregnant with your child, the judge will consider that. It might impact how they view the custody split. After hanging up, I stood in the kitchen watching my kids eat. Ethan was quiet, pushing cheese around his plate. Lily chattered about the tire swing, oblivious. If Jessica was pregnant, if the baby was mine, everything got more complicated. Another child caught in the wreckage, another person to protect from the fallout. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. David, this is Kimberly Watson. I think we need to talk about Jessica. Finally. I stepped into the hallway, away from the kids. I'm listening. I saw the messages from Melissa and Rebecca. Her voice was young, uncertain. Jessica told me she was divorced, that you'd left her for someone else. Another lie, another variation of the same script. How long? I asked. 3 months. We met at a yoga class. She paused. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was married, that there were kids. It's not your fault. Is she really pregnant? Word traveled fast. She claims to be. Oh, God. Kimberly sounded sick. We were together 2 nights ago. She didn't mention, she looked fine. When did you last see her? Yesterday morning. She stayed over Sunday night. A pause. At my place. She said she couldn't go home because you were there, packing her things. So Jessica had been with Kimberly while claiming to be devastated about our marriage, while supposedly carrying my child. The evidence kept stacking up. Each new detail another nail in the coffin of whatever we'd been. Thank you for calling, I said. What are you going to do? I looked back at the kitchen, at my kids finishing their lunch. Whatever I have to. The paternity test results came back on a Tuesday. I sat in Blake's office, the manila envelope between us like a live grenade. Through the window, I could see downtown traffic crawling past. Normal people doing normal things. Going to jobs, grabbing coffee, living lives that hadn't imploded. You want me to open it? Blake asked. No. I reached for it myself. Tore the seal. The words swam for a moment before focusing. Probability of paternity. 99.997%. Mine. The baby was mine. I set the paper down carefully. Blake watched me with the practiced neutrality of someone who'd seen this scene play out 100 times. Okay, I said. What now? Now we adjust the custody arrangement. The court will want both parents involved with the infant. That means Jessica gets more visitation, possibly unsupervised once the baby's born. Even after everything she did? Being a serial cheater doesn't make someone an unfit mother. Legally speaking. Blake leaned forward. But we can still push for primary custody of Ethan and Lily. The affair documentation helps there. Shows pattern of deception, poor judgment. I thought about Jessica at my front door, hand on her stomach. She'd been telling the truth about one thing at least. Set up a meeting, I said. With her attorney. Let's settle this before it gets worse. The mediation happened in a conference room that smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Jessica sat across from me, 6 weeks further into the pregnancy now, showing just slightly. Her attorney, a stern woman named Patricia Lopez, had papers spread across the table like battle plans. Blake had his own stack. We'd come prepared. My client is willing to accept a settlement, Patricia began. Joint custody of all 3 children, 60-40 timeshare in Jessica's favor given her role as primary caregiver. No, Blake's voice was flat. Mr. Thompson has documentation of Ms. Thompson's extensive extramarital affairs, including evidence she brought paramours into the family home while the children were present. We're proposing primary physical custody to Mr. Thompson, with Jessica receiving supervised visitation until the youngest child is 2 years old. Jessica's face crumpled. You can't take my babies. Ms. Thompson. Patricia's hand on her arm, silencing her. Let me handle this. They negotiated for 3 hours, back and forth, trading weekends and holidays like baseball cards. I watched Jessica cry, watched her attorney whisper urgently in her ear, watched the whole thing unfold with that same disconnected feeling I'd had since finding her phone. Finally, we reached terms. Primary custody to me. Jessica got the kids every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. Supervised visitation for the first 6 months after the baby was born, then reassessed. She'd pay child support. I'd keep the house. Assets split 50-50 otherwise. My client wants to say something, Patricia said as we were signing papers. Jessica looked at me, eyes red. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt everyone who mattered. I'm getting help. Real help. Therapy, not just... She stopped. I want to be better. For them. I didn't respond. Just signed my name on the dotted line. The gallery showing happened 3 weeks later. I'd almost canceled it. Seemed impossible to care about landscape photography while my life was being divided up by attorneys. But Philip had insisted, and some stubborn part of me refused to let Jessica destroy that too. The turnout was better than expected. Critics, collectors, other photographers I respected. My images hung on white walls under perfect lighting. Mountains at dawn, coastal fog, desert highways stretching toward infinity. All those hours on the road, chasing light while my marriage rotted from the inside. Remarkable work, a woman said beside me. Gallery owner, according to her name tag. There's such loneliness in these landscapes. Beautiful, but isolated. Thank you, I said automatically. The artist statement mentions finding truth in empty spaces. Is that what draws you to these locations? I looked at the photograph she was standing in front of. A 2-lane highway disappearing into Nevada desert. Not another car in sight. I'd taken it at sunrise, alone except for the wind and my camera. I guess I was looking for something that couldn't lie to me, I said. Mountains don't pretend to be something they're not. She smiled like I'd said something profound instead of just honest. Ethan and Lily showed up with my mother halfway through the evening. Lily wore her favorite dress, purple with sparkles, and Ethan had actually combed his hair without being asked. Daddy, these are so pretty. Lily tugged my hand, pulling me toward a print of redwood forests. Can we go there sometime? Sure, Ladybug. Summer vacation, maybe. Will Mommy come too? The question I'd been dodging for weeks. Probably not this time. Ethan was quiet, studying a photograph of storm clouds over Wyoming. 9 years old now, his birthday had passed during the mediation. He'd blown out candles at my mother's house while Jessica watched via video call, crying through the whole thing. You okay, buddy? I asked. He shrugged. Ms. Peterson says art is about feelings. What feeling is this? I looked at the image. Dark clouds, lightning in the distance, a lone barn weathering the storm. Survival, I said. That barn's been there 100 years. It's seen worse storms than this. He nodded slowly, understanding something I hadn't quite said. The baby was born in March, a girl. Jessica named her Emma without asking me first, but I didn't fight it. Seemed like a small thing compared to everything else. I met my daughter in the hospital, Jessica exhausted in the bed while nurses bustled around. Emma was tiny, red-faced, perfect. She had Jessica's nose. My eyes, maybe. Too early to tell. You want to hold her? Jessica asked quietly. I took Emma carefully, supporting her head the way I'd learned with Ethan and Lily. She made a small sound, settled against my chest. She's beautiful, I said. Yeah. Jessica's voice was thick. David, don't. I kept my eyes on Emma. Let's just not. We stayed like that for a few minutes. The strangest moment, holding our daughter together while legally separated, our marriage a smoking crater behind us. The supervised visitation started 2 weeks later. Jessica's parents' house, a social worker present to document everything. I'd drop off Ethan and Lily, watch Jessica light up when she saw them, watch them run to her like nothing had changed. Emma stayed with me those first months. Bottles and diapers and 3 a.m. crying sessions. My mother helped, and so did Rebecca, surprisingly. She'd apologized profusely, offered to testify if needed. When she heard about Emma, she'd shown up with casseroles and baby clothes. I feel responsible, she'd said. If I'd known, if any of us had known. You didn't know because she lied. That's on her, not you. But Rebecca kept coming around anyway, helping with the kids, bringing groceries, just being present. Melissa, too, occasionally. Even Vanessa sent a care package, diapers, and a handwritten note saying she was sorry for all of it. The women Jessica had deceived, now helping raise the children she'd nearly lost. Life was strange that way. A year later, I was back in the Nevada desert. Same highway, same endless sky. But this time I had Ethan in the passenger seat, Lily asleep in the back, Emma in her car seat making happy baby sounds. Why do you take pictures of nothing? Ethan asked, watching me set up my tripod. It's not nothing. It's space. Room to breathe. Mom says you ran away from your feelings. I looked at him. When did she say that? Last weekend. She was talking to Grandma. I heard them. He picked at his shoelace. She cries a lot. I know, buddy. Do you still love her? The question hung in the dry air. I thought about Jessica, the woman I'd married, the stranger she'd become, the broken person trying to rebuild herself in therapy and supervised visits. I love who she was, I said finally. But that person's gone. Maybe she never existed the way I thought she did. That's sad. Yeah, it is. I took the photograph. Same highway, same composition as before, but different too. The light had changed. I had changed. The man who'd taken the first image had believed in certainties. Marriage, trust, forever. This version knew better. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday, 18 months after I'd first seen those messages on Jessica's phone. We signed papers in Blake's office, Jessica's hand shaking as she wrote her name. I really am sorry, she said afterward, in the hallway. I know I've said it before, but I know you are. And I meant it. She was sorry. Sorry she'd been caught, sorry she'd lost her family, sorry for the consequences if not quite the actions. But sorry doesn't fix this. Will you ever forgive me? I thought about that. About Ethan asking why I photographed empty spaces. About Emma grabbing my finger with her tiny hand. About Lily still asking when Mommy was coming home. Maybe, I said. Someday, for the kids' sake. But we're never going back to what we were. She nodded, tears streaming. I know. We walked to our separate cars. Separate lives now, connected only by 3 children and a shared history that felt like someone else's story. The second gallery showing was smaller, more intimate. Just friends and family, a few collectors who'd bought from the first exhibition. The new series was different. Still landscapes, but closer. Details instead of vistas. Wildflowers pushing through cracked asphalt. Fence posts standing despite missing slats. Small survivals. These are hopeful, the same gallery owner observed. Different from your earlier work. Different times, I said. Ethan, Lily, and Emma were there. Jessica, too, standing awkwardly near the back with her parents. We'd agreed she could come, part of rebuilding trust, the therapist said. Small steps toward co-parenting. I watched her look at the photographs. Saw her pause at one in particular, a broken gate, still standing, morning light streaming through the gaps. She wiped her eyes. Later, as people were leaving, she approached me. "Thank you for letting me come. They're your kids too. You should be here for the important stuff." "Am I?" She hesitated. "Are we going to be okay? Eventually?" I looked at our children. Ethan explaining one of the photographs to his grandmother. Lily spinning in her dress. Emma asleep in her stroller, oblivious to the complicated adult world she'd been born into. "We're going to be something," I said. "Maybe not okay the way we were, but something new. For them." It wasn't forgiveness, wasn't reconciliation, but it was truth, and truth was all I had left to offer. If there's a moral to this story, it's not a comfortable one. It's not about trust, or verification, or even justice. It's simpler and harder than that. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. They can only be survived. You document the damage. You protect what matters. You keep moving forward because stopping means drowning in what was lost. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you find that survival is enough. That building something new from the wreckage is its own kind of victory, even if it looks nothing like what you'd planned. I still photograph empty spaces, still chase light across lonely highways. But now I come home to 3 kids who need me, to a life that's smaller but more honest than before. Jessica is getting better, slowly. The supervised visits became unsupervised. She's in therapy, working through whatever drove her to burn down everything she claimed to love. We'll never be friends. But we're learning to be functional co-parents, which is its own kind of grace. The women she deceived have mostly moved on. Rebecca sends Christmas cards. Melissa got married last year. Vanessa and Kimberly disappeared back into their own lives. And me? I'm learning that some questions don't have answers. Why did she do it? How did I miss it? What could I have done differently? Those questions lead nowhere useful. Better questions. What do my kids need today? How do I show up for them? What kind of man do I want to be on the other side of this? Those questions have answers. And answers, I've learned, are better than understanding. The highway still stretches toward the horizon. The light still changes. And somewhere between the broken and the beautiful, there's a life worth living. You just have to be willing to see it.